This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
Danilo's free, and it goes to Gibbs wide.
First time we've seen them attack them, and there's Francis! Well, that's what I wanted to see Robinson do. Taylor one, he scores! And the City ground goes ballistic! Here's Bob Williams. He's through here! And in the end, Forrest will say it doesn't matter how you play as long as you win it. Yeah!
Hello and welcome to this edition of Red Side of the Trent, here to talk about all things Forest and maybe even a little bit of England, as last night they beat the Netherlands in the semi-final of the Euros. Here to join me is previous guest Reiss Coy. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Recovering from last night still.
Yeah.
Obviously watched the game together last night. Still sort of getting over it, really.
I mean, I don't think we'd have envisaged Ollie Watkins doing that when he got the ball in the box. Unbelievable finish. I mean, I've not stopped watching it actually all this morning and late last night.
It's ridiculous, mate. I mean, I think I've watched it a few times, and I didn't actually, obviously because I was watching it in a pub, I already thought he was already in the box. I didn't realise that he runs from deep and then Palmer slides him in the ball. So obviously I've sort of must have looked down, looked away, and I've seen as the ball's come into him, he already knows he's touching, rolling, and getting that across the keeper. It's instinctive. It's ridiculous, really. I mean, to produce that at that time is just it's just outrageous. But it was everything we needed, really, wasn't it? Because I don't think I could have done another 30 minutes and some pens again.
No, it would have been insufferable, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, nice to see two substitutes combine for Southgate and him get some sort of plaudits, though I still think he should have been a bit more proactive earlier, but it's paid off in the end. They've got to another final, back-to-back Euro finals. They play Spain on Sunday. Just before we get into Forest, I know that people have come here for Forest chat rather than England chat to get it everywhere else. What's your feelings going into the game on Sunday against Spain, who have been extremely strong all tournament? To be fair, they've not really slowed down at all.
I've said it so many times, like last night and today. If you can't be good, be lucky. That's the way I look at it. And last night we was both, to be fair, obviously with a pen, which wasn't a pen, and then a bit of brilliance. So it was a bit of both last night. I don't know how you stop them playing. I don't know how you stop Rodri and who's the other guy in the middle?
Fabian Ruiz.
Ruiz, yeah. I don't know how you stop them playing. Yeah, they're a different animal. No, I didn't see them being like this, to be honest. I didn't predict that. I thought France were going to walk it. So for Spain to come in and do what they've done, and I'm not going to go down the boring narrative about that schoolboy again. But it's just ridiculous. But stranger things have happened. It's a one-game shootout. Anything can happen.
I do think it will be a lot more even than people might expect, because England have got some very good technical players, like Kobe Mine, who's really stepped up since his emergence this season, and Foden got a lot of joy in the pocket yesterday. The Dutch kind of I thought they changed their formation and kind of way they were playing to nullify that, but then equally nullified themselves completely in the second half to actually go after England. So there's a lot of variables, I think, in that final, a lot of interesting kind of ways of looking at it. I know me, you, your brother and Danny were really geeking out of certain tactics that were going on last night, especially. Oh, yeah. So I'm sure that will happen on Sunday as well.
Look, I don't care if it's the worst game I've ever seen. If you come away with a win, like the playoffs, really, wasn't the nicest of spectacles, was it? But you get the job done, and no one's really bothered.
No, it was an awful game. But yeah, let's hope England can do the job and get it finally. Bring football finally home, as the song goes. So
I've not said that phrase yet. I've sang it by accident when I was excited, but I've not said that phrase yet that we say all the time.
Is that phrase a bit like hearing Wham's Last Christmas? Do you like?
Yeah, like football's Last Christmas. Yeah, it's overused. It's my version, to put it into Forest terms, of Forest and Magic on and off the pitch.
Or
Good for
champions of Europe.
Oh no, yeah, no. Personally, I don't sing that because I want her to see it, so I won't sing it. No, I won't be singing that song about where football's coming until it's happened.
Yeah, fair enough. So let's get into Forest. Last time you was on with Danny, and we spoke about like leadership and a few different bits and bobs about the club, but a lot's happened since then. Obviously the players have just got back into training. As this goes out, Forest are going to be playing Chesterfield in a friendly. What's your initial thoughts and feelings about the summer so far? Obviously, we've got rid of Niakate, Mangala, Lacademos, and a host of other players that have been released, and then we've brought in Elliot Anderson and Eric De Silva Moreira. What's your opinion on all that's gone on?
It's encouraging. It's encouraging. It's a step in the right direction for me. Obviously, they brought in Stamenic to go on loan to Olympiacos, so I'm intrigued to see if he plays in that game, to see what sort of player he is. Obviously, big Carlos Miguel as well.
Oh yes, I completely forgot about Carlos Miguel.
Yeah, coin toss for me whether he's going to be the number one or whether he's a future number one. But that's a good headache to have. It's not bringing in another 36, 37, 38-year-old and then Forest signing another 2 or 3 keepers every season. It's a step in the right direction for me. I think Elliot Anderson, for realistically, is for Gio Reyna in terms of where he plays that 10, left hand side, right hand side. It sounds a bit daft saying it, probably a bit more accomplished, especially in the league, in the Premier League. It's positive for me. It's getting it all to gel, keeping the core of the team, and just filling in them little pockets where we need to strengthen. Really, so it's a good start. It's a good start.
Just early opinion on not Carlos Miguel, Eric De Silva Moreira, because an 18-year-old kid coming from St. Pauli who played in Bundesliga 2, where he didn't really actually get a kick for their team and they got promoted. But it seems like he's been thrusted into the first team to train with us, which I think is a bit surprising. And maybe I'm not sure if it's just Nuno wants to have a look at him or actually is beyond the level that we think he is. And maybe St. Pauli have missed the trick by actually not thrusting him into their first team straight away, or what they wanted to protect him a little bit. I don't know. What's your thoughts on him? Do you think he'll actually have a role in the squad next season?
I think it all depends on whether we bring in a accomplished first team left back, because if you do, you can then shift Aina to the right, and you've got the choice of Aina and Williams right, and obviously Toffolo as backup to a starting left back. For me, he's obviously, I don't know the first thing about the kid apart from what he's accomplished. I don't think we've got the luxury of bedding him in. I know we did the similar thing with Murillo, but that's just a freak one-off that he's that good. I don't think we're going to be in a luxurious position to have time to bleed a player like that in. But then I also don't want him to go on loan. I think Forest plays fall by the wayside on loan. There's only really been Brennan in the past few years that's really been a success, come back, and then obviously made something of himself. So it's hard, but without seeing the without obviously looking forward and seeing who we end up buying, you don't really know, and especially without seeing him even kicked a ball yet. But he seems to fit the profile of a Nico Williams, to be honest. Only fast, athletic, direct. So you don't know. Let's see if he starts against Chesterfield or gets a few minutes and see how he settles in.
Yeah, definitely. So after we play Chesterfield, we actually go on a trip to Spain, which we did last year, where we play Millwall, Sunderland, and Elche before coming back to the City Ground to play Villarreal and then Olympiacos. But what's your thoughts and feelings about these little training camps? Because it's someone, I think, on Twitter, and people were saying like, why are we not going to the US, blah blah blah, raise the profile. Do you think it's a good thing that we're not doing that, or do you think we should do that to bring more money into the club or more fans or whatever? I don't really know the answer to it or the actual good way of putting the question forward, but what's your opinion on it?
So obviously, I think a lot of the teams get invited out to America, don't they? They're playing like Premier League tournaments and stuff. And the reality of it is, we're not a lucrative or attractive enough club outside of our own world to be invited over to America to play against Chelsea, United, City, and everyone else. In terms of why I think we've done it, I think it's easier, especially when you need to build a squad. Say, for example, you sign the centre half that we're linked with, for argument's sake. He's got to then go to America. He probably misses 2-3 days worth of integrating into a squad. You get there, then you've got to get over the jet lag, then you train, then you play, and then you come back again. For me, it makes more sense staying local when we're still building a squad. If it was more established and you thought it was only making 2 or 3 signings, I think it's better. Or it makes sense to go to America and do that and get our brand as it is out there a little bit more. I think a couple of seasons ago, Nia Carte actually signed at the training camp, didn't he, in Spain? So I think there might be a bit of that in it as well, to be honest. And you don't know with budgets and other bits and bobs either. You don't know what's agreed. We seem to have some decent sort of relationship over there in Spain. It doesn't bother me too much, to be honest. It's obviously just a club level decision, and I think it might be something to do with signings.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's quite a good way of putting it. I mean, the caveat to the US thing or whatever is, like, Brentford and Fulham went out there. I know Fulham have been a Premier League team for a while beforehand, but Brentford are pretty much a year or two ahead of us. And for me, they're not as big a club as us and never will be.
They're a hipster's dream, though, aren't they? They
are a hipster's dream. They are a hipster's dream, mate. Yeah, it's true. But yeah, no, I think that's a good point, actually. Like the whole signings thing, they don't have as far to go. I mean, if we do sign that Yaka Bijol from Udinese, has been rumoured, then at least, like, well, he's going to be having a break now anyway, because he's just finished the Euros. And anyway, but if he did get signed and then did join the team later on, at least it's not as far to go. Like you say, it's only from Italy or Slovenia or wherever he's gone on his holidays to go to Spain and then join up with the rest of the squad. So yeah, you do make an interesting point there. What's your thoughts and feelings towards the friendlies? It's been announced as we record this today that earlier we're playing Villarreal at home on 2nd of August. It's quite nice to have a kind of an established European side come to us and showcase the Yellow Submarine.
Yeah, the last one was Sociedad, wasn't it? Was it Sociedad?
Yeah.
Odegaard, Isak, Illaramendi. I'm sure whichever team that was. Well, I'm sure it was Sociedad in 2019. I know I went to the game, and it was whoever Odegaard went to, and they had Isak up top.
Sociedad.
Yeah, it was a good game, to be fair. I'm not too precious about friendlies either. I mean, I get suckered in and watch everyone, like most people probably do. And I think last season it was like our world's falling apart, and Remo Freuler started 90% of them, and then he was gone before the season started, or just as the season started. So you can't read too much into it, to be honest. I'm not bothered about the level of opponent either. I'm really not. I think obviously we've done it in a way where it ramps up better opponents towards the start of the season. But for me, it's just an exercise. It gives Nuno the opportunity to test a few things out. And if he played, I don't know, if he inspired by Gareth and played a 3-4-3 and it went utterly to pot against a Chesterfield, then I'd much rather that than try it against a Brentford or anyone else, or Bournemouth on the first game of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not too precious about friendlies and everything else. It's fitness and it's trying new things. I feel like from watching that behind the scenes video and kind of everyone coming back, and Danilo and Hudson-Odoi obviously choreographing, having the same haircut and everything else, and whatever else. But it seems like there's something kind of brewing. I don't know if I'm just like taking too much, like from what I've seen there, seriously or not, or whatever. But I don't know. It just seems like there's a good vibe in the air. I mean, there's no, like, everyone's back pretty much from their holidays, bar like the goalkeepers. But we've signed a big 6'8" goalkeeper, so that's no worries. Like that sells us. Maybe took an extended break to play for Belgium or whatever. But Do you have this sort of feeling or not? I don't know if it even really matters or not.
I do in a way, because I think if the club didn't want you to see something, then you wouldn't see it. So I think, but it's very important to the club and for the club and the media of the club to galvanise a fan base and show that, look, we've had 2 tough seasons. The players are in good spirits, and for me, if the players are in good spirits, then there's no reason for the fans not to be. That they're a reflection of us, and we're a reflection of them, to be honest. So they're all back, obviously. It's just blokes being blokes, in it. They're all giddy to be back. They're all slapping each other on the head, singing thong song to Hudson Odoi, and they're all just like running around, really happy to be back. And I think there's an element of that, but I do think Nuno looks lighter. I don't know, just from the clips you see, seems to sort of breeze in, and they didn't show any. He obviously got this this sort of title of being cold, not very passionate, and all this sort of. And then obviously after the Burnley game, and then when you see him coming back, and it feels like it's really pointed, and they've made a real conscious effort to show him hugging Olorena and like congratulating Murillo, and probably telling him in Portuguese that he's signed him to a 5-year deal with a buyout clause that no club can meet, and just like, and it's cleverly done. To be honest with you, it's cleverly done.
I'm gonna point out a really odd thing, right? I would love to try and do all these fitness tests that footballers do just to see how badly out of shape I am. Do you like? I think Murillo is doing this like hip thrust thing. I'm like, I don't think I'd stand a chance. Sort of.
I wouldn't mind a sort of fan poll. No, when you sat around some absolute wally who's just giving pelters all game. I think you should be able to nominate a few of them a season, just to go and kick a few balls with them players and realise just how good they are and just how fit they are. I think it would humble a few people, to be honest. But I'd like to take the test. I don't think I'd probably just make it on the grass. I think, because from the changing room to the pitch is a bit of a stretch, to be honest.
I watched Morgan Gibbs-White do like a triple jump, and I'm pretty sure he's like at Olympic level or whatever. He's jumping miles. I'm like, what the heck, man? It's absolutely ridiculous. Good to see smiles on Awunie and Sangare's faces. Obviously, Sangare ain't got a clue what the bloke's saying to him behind the camera, I don't think, but he looked happy enough. Big season ahead of him. Last year, lots of complications coming right at the end of the window. Had a bit of a tricky start to his Forest career, got malaria, went to AFCON, was getting booed by supporters because he cost an amount of money that wasn't his fault. What's your feelings for him this year? Do you think it's a big season for him? It needs to step up. Clearly, obviously, I think that's an obvious kind of statement, really. But what's your expectations for Ibrahim Sangare this season?
I don't think there's no pressure on him for me. I think take the pressure off, take the pressure away. There's nothing more luxurious than having another 37 games ahead of you. So if you have a bad one in your first one, if you get to 15, 20 games, he's had a real stretch and a run of games beyond what we've seen of him before, and he's still the same Sangare, you're entitled to moan. Once again, I've always pointed out that £35 million in the grand scheme of the Premier League isn't a Rodri. So there's only a level of expectancy to come with it. People can argue, well, Murillo was 13 and so on, but as a stellar signing, I don't really know what more you're expecting. I think he'll be fine. I really do. I'm not putting him too high. I'm not putting him too low, especially as a 6. The best way to be a 6 is not really be noticed. That, to be honest, he's not there to change the game. He's there to keep the game ticking over and give it to the more technical players in front of him and break things down. So you're not going to get people off the seats, realistically, unless he's had an absolutely unbelievable game. You're not going to get people off your seats. And I've just removed all level of expectancy from him. Just let him play. If he's good, he's good. If he's bad, he's bad. If he costs us 35 million and we sell him back for 20, you win some, you lose some for me.
Yeah, I think the Elliot Anderson thing we have to kind of take into consideration. We sold Vlachodimos for like 15 million to them, so it's like 20 million, which is still high price to pay for someone that could be a squad player, but I do think he strengthens us in a lot of different areas because he's so versatile. I actually expect him to play central midfield a lot more than I do as a winger or as a 10.
I think I said to you before, if you've got Premier League experience, if you're young and you're homegrown, there's 10, 15 million worth of value straight away. So obviously still not scored a Premier League goal, which he would have done if he did that bizarre decision against us, wasn't it? He scored against us.
Yeah.
So I don't think, like you say, if you especially bring into the Vlachodimos money into it, it's pretty much on value for me. So once again, I'm not worried about anyone's price tag, to be honest. I just let them play, just judge them on the pitch, and then even that, going back to Sangare, back end of the season, did he come on against City?
Who's Sangare?
I can't remember. He come on for a game. He come on with about 15, 20 minutes to go. And within 2 minutes, the bloke in front of me, just expletives, like, oh, is this, is that, send him back. Just give the bloke a chance. Like, it's absolutely despicable the way he's been treated. And to be honest, if he's seen his backside and went, I won't blame him, to be honest. I think take that feel-good factor from what we're seeing around the club and just channel it into every player and don't necessarily focus on one. Let's see how he is after 15 games. Come back to me after 15 games. If he's the same, you've got a valid argument, I think.
Yeah, no, I've got real faith in him. From what I've seen last season in some bits, I think there's a real player in there, and I think he'll come good next season. Another player who I think has got a big preseason ahead of him is Taiwo Awoniyi, who's had a lot of injury problems. I think he had an operation towards the end of last season before he got a few minutes towards the end, and also the previous season, I think he picked up a knock before returning at Arsenal, first game of the season, and we kind of always wondered under Cooper, like, is he too heavy reliant on him? But lo and behold, Nuno comes in and kind of turns Chris Wood into an unbelievable goal scorer for us, which I think does relieve a bit of pressure for Nuno this season, that he's got two different kind of options. I know they're both kind of big target men as such, but I think what we saw Chris Wood last season was a bit more of a poacher's kind of striker for say how big he is. So it does give Nuno a few options and kind of relieves that pressure on Awoniyi being fit for season. But I would love us to get like 30 odd games, because I do think he's a problem, especially to someone like to Saliba, who's arguably one of the best centre halves in the league.
Yeah, he's if he, the problem is the system we play at the moment is if he plays 30 games, it means Chris Wood's pretty much only playing 8 if you're going off league. You do obviously have a luxury now that the fans have got a bit more faith in Chris Wood, that you can pick and choose and select who is better suited to opposition. I think Chris Wood's obviously shown his nous for being in the right place at the right time, and if he didn't have that weird patch from the Spurs game onwards, he'd probably been near on 20 goals. So hopefully that's reflected in Taiwo's mentality, that there's not so much of a reliance on him, because he's probably arguably playing while he was playing, wasn't he? Cooper should have bought him off, and he didn't, and then obviously whether that made his injury worse, I don't know, but he was out for a bloody long time after that. So I think big pre-season for Taiwo, not goals, just fitness, just come through them unscathed. If you get a couple of goals along the way, fine. But ultimately, you need 2 firing strikers, really, especially in a position like ours. If you've got, for argument's sake, Wood starting and scoring, Taiwo coming off the bench and scoring and banging on the door to be that starting striker, it's a good headache to have.
Do you think there's a scope to get another striker in that is a different profile to the two of them?
Absolutely, 100%. You need someone off the shoulder for me. If you was to lose Taiwo or Wood, someone who fits their profile would then obviously make a bit more sense. But for me, I can't even think of a player out there. But I'd like to see someone who plays in behind, stretches the game for us, can also be part of your counter-attacking outlet, because obviously at present we utilise the wings as your counter-attackers. It tends to go into Gibbs White quite quickly from a corner, then comes out to the wings, gets cut across, and that's where we score. But if you can afford the luxury of keeping your striker up there, I think it adds a different dynamic again. So, I mean, we've seen it with England, how quickly Ollie Watkins changed the dynamic of the game by stretching it, getting someone in there who can stretch it and play, and possibly then you can look at changing it again and playing with 2 10s and a bit narrower if you need to, because I wouldn't say it's a problem I have with Awoniyi and Wood, is that they're that similar in the fact that I don't perceive them to change a game, because it's almost like a like for like. Do you know what I mean? It's a very similar option. So I would like to see another one, because Wood's probably got a season in him at best. Realistically, I'd like to see someone 23, 24 come in, another option. We technically had 3 strikers last season, even though one of them was Divock Origi. He got shoved out on the wing. But when he come, admittedly, once again, I'd seen very little of Divock, and I thought that he was a through the middle striker, to be honest. And I thought he would be that sort of player, and then it quickly transpired that he wasn't that at all, and he was just about a football player. I mean, technically his feet, it was actually surprisingly good. Like technically, like his touch, the way he plays, the way he manipulates the ball, just didn't suit us at all. So I think a younger, more dynamic striker who stretches the game would definitely add a little bit more to probably Wood and Awoniyi's game as well.
Yeah, you need someone that plays a little bit outside the post, because that's where they like to be, which is a good thing and a bad thing in itself. Someone that I think would be potentially a good fit, but would probably cost us a bit too much money, would be someone like Eddie Nketiah, because but the problem is you bring him in and he'd want to be the number 9 first name on the team sheet striker for us, and I don't know if that's possible right now or not. I think we'd need someone a bit lower profile that you can kind of go, right, for one season you're going to be a rotational striker, but the second season you're going to probably be our number 1 guy or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Give him a bit of a pathway.
You look at the moment. I mean, we can't be snobbish enough to turn a nose up at looking at Championship strikers when the likes of Palace are getting Adam Wharton and players like that. So picking players from the Championship is possibly another option. Once again, it seems like that's all died out. Really, there's like one Championship player a season now who sort of stands out, goes to Palace or Bournemouth, and then stays there for like 5 or 10 years.
I mean, Smodic's had a really good season, but if he was but he's 28, 29, and it's his first good season. If he was like 22, 23 and had that season, then you'd go, right, we'll take a punt on him, and he'll cost us like maybe 5 million or whatever from Blackburn to probably get him. Or between 5 and 10 million, I don't think they'd be able to turn it down. So, unfortunately, I know he's kind of in his peak, but I think that's like the wrong kind of direction for us to go in that sense. But the Championship do get like plucked straight away, or it is dying out, as you say. There's not as many like striking. I think they're kind of turning into the Premier League, where a lot of their wingers are scoring more goals now, and like attacking midfielders and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting. I think it's definitely a place that needs scouting, and different leagues will need scouting. But we're going to move into talking about Nuno and his kind of style of play. I don't know if you will agree with me with this statement, but I think he came in and made us kind of difficult to play against, but made us play in a way that we could go and get results and and win games of football where we needed to, because it was a matter of trying to survive. I'm wondering if for this season he will kind of adapt his style, and we'll see more about what we was reading, what he was doing in Saudi Arabia, where he was playing like a fullback inverted and all that sort of stuff. He's definitely got the scope to do it, because we've got players that can do that and are technical on the ball. Someone like Olarena definitely offers that option as well.
There's signs of it with Tavares. to be honest. Tavares was very central when he picked the ball up. He was very direct and very central. He just unfortunately just didn't have the skill set to sort of accomplish it. I mean, he must have put at least 4 balls in the Trent. But yeah, I think he had to play. He had to play safe. He's got to play with the safety on a little bit, and obviously was quite clearly selective in the games that we chose to play last season. And obviously he's pulled a few games out of the hat, Newcastle and Man United, but it was quite calculated. You could see that we was focusing on picking up points. That was obviously demonstrated at the back end of the season. I'd like to see something different from Nuno, because the predictability of a team in the lower half of the league is such a weakness. Such a weakness. If the team doesn't know, if the opposition doesn't know, or they're looking at it and saying they can play 4-2-3-1, 3-5-2, 3-4-3, and they've got a different body of personnel that can all fit it, it just adds so much more to you. And I think you'll probably see that in pre-season. Oh, well, sorry, I'd like to see that in pre-season.
I mean, it's going to be interesting because our first 10 games are a lot kinder than they were last season, where I think like the first 5 away games were against all the top kind of sides, as you want to call them, like Man United, Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, you name it, they were in there. Like this season, Liverpool. we've got a bit of a kind of fixture list where we've got Bournemouth at home, Southampton away, Wolves at home, Liverpool, Brighton, Fulham, Chelsea, Crystal Palace, Leicester, and West Ham are like our first 10 games. So I think there's definitely games in there where you can do some adapting and kind of try and maybe like showcasing what you've been working on in pre-season. I'm really interested to see how we go, because obviously Nuno was so kind of stamped with this. Oh, he's a counter-attacking manager, and it's kind of can be a little bit boring. But last season, I actually really enjoyed watching a lot of the football we played.
I didn't find it boring at all, to be honest. And the challenge is now is picking up points against that middle core of teams. That's what steps you up from 15th up to 13th and beyond, really. So your teams like Bournemouth, Palace. I'm trying to think of teams that we didn't get a win against last season.
Brighton.
Yeah, exactly.
We actually failed a lot. We beat West Ham at home, but we failed a lot against the teams in and around us. I think we only beat Sheffield United and Burnley but that was at the end of the season. We didn't beat Luton at all. We didn't beat Everton. We didn't beat Bournemouth.
I think I've said this to you before, though. I think we've only lost against Leeds and Leicester of the relegated teams. They're the 2 games we've lost out of the relegated teams. So we're not losing them, but it's like the Bournemouth away. Like you need to be winning that. Last season, they're the sort of games where obviously West Ham 2-1 up. We all know what happens. The famous scoreline. There's games like that you need to see out. I'd really like to see us go 2-1 up, 3-1 up, rather than it being same old Forest. But once again, it's the same as the players. Nuno's got that luxury now. He's got the opportunity to express himself hopefully without the worries of PSR. They're his players now, regardless of whether he physically brings them in or has bought them in previously. They're his players. He's got ample opportunity to work with them. So there's no excuses that side of things. It's his team, and it's a real opportunity to put his stamp on it. And I think that he'll be looking at that first section of games and thinking, we get 4 or 5 wins out of that, you've got a good chunk of what you already got last season.
Absolutely.
Because especially coming into back end of November, December, it's awful.
December is horrible.
It's really bad. So you want to get them points on the board, and then I mean, what is it? Is it Arsenal, United, and City away? The 3 away games in a row.
Something ridiculous, something stupid. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the Premier League. The fixtures are never going to be kind to you. Whichever way you want to be there, you've always got to play Man City twice, and then the 3 teams below him are always going to be as equally as competitive. It's the nature of it. If we want to be there, much rather that than Rotherham away on a Tuesday night.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we want to see more of like what we saw against Fulham at home, where we took the lead, then we got another, and then we like turned into Brazil of like 2002.
Just a bit more expansive, just a bit
Yeah.
like shackles off, a bit
Yeah.
more expansive, and that's the benchmark for me. That Fulham game is the benchmark. The players have clearly shown that they can do it, and a bit more expansive, free flowing, quick football, moving the ball with purpose, not heavily reliant on soaking up pressure and counter attacking, and being on the front foot, being the dominant team for me.
Yeah. Just to touch on Nuno's squad. I mean, we've bought in a goalkeeper, and we've bought in a right back, right winger, forward in Eric De Silva, as we mentioned. We've bought in Elliot Anderson. Do you, other than, I mean, you mentioned getting a proper left back and probably a striker. Do you think only centre back is maybe the only kind of spot we need to fill now? We don't really need to make too many more signings unless people go out.
Yeah, it all depends on who doesn't want to be there anymore. Centre half's key. I think you need 2 minimum. I'd like
Just
to see
that flexibility of playing a 3 or a 4.
Yeah, I'd like to see one almost hallmark. Oh yeah, he's going to start, and then another one where you think, don't know whether he's going to. A bit like how Amabamidele was last season. You've got the option of integrating players in, but we need a real partner for, fingers crossed, for Murillo. Should he stay, of course. If Murillo was to go, then you need 3.
Yeah,
you really need 3 because Bolly's as fantastic as he is, he's probably got 20 games in him. So yeah, centre half is the position for me, and but looking at the room as it appears to be, that is also our key focus as well.
I mean, I'd like someone that will kind of emulate Bolly in terms of being that aerial dominant centre half. Doesn't necessarily need to be great on the ball, but can pass it 5 yards to the left hand side and let Murillo kind of do all that. I think that's kind of what we need, and I think the two lads that have been linked to us in Jacob Joe and Jake O'Brien kind of fit that mold. Although Jake O'Brien looks quite quick over the surface from what I've seen in small sample sizes in clips. But they are going to look fast compared to you and I, Reiss. So, it's not hard, is it?
We can make ourselves look good on YouTube, Adam. I think if we had enough time, mate.
I can put 1.5 times speed. It might look all right. What's you other than that? Like, what's your thoughts on like the Premier League itself, anyway? Because Ipswich have come up and started to strengthen. I know they've signed Philogene and Jacob Greaves from Hull. They've signed Liam Delap as well from Man City on a permanent
for a ridiculous amount of money, may I add.
Yeah, and then obviously we've got Stevie Cooper going to Leicester, and the other team now has escaped me. Who come up through the playoffs? Southampton. What do you make of the league? Because last year we probably said it was one of the weaker kind of Premier Leagues, and we was quite glad that we actually got a point deduction last season because it was so poor. This season kind of looks a bit stronger, though we don't know what the circumstances of Leicester are and if they're going to get a breach or not because they sold obviously Dewsbury Hall and what have you.
Yeah, so what do I make of the Premier League? It's still very much split into 3, isn't it? You've got that 6 to 14th, and then 14th and down. Do I think? I keep looking at Ipswich and think I don't know whether they're either going to. It's either going to be Sheffield United first season or Luton. I don't think they're going to be anywhere in between. I don't think they're going to scrape through how we did. They're going to be one or the other. Leicester, once again, financial implications and everything else, and obviously Steve Cooper there probably do an half decent job, to be honest. The more I look at that, I don't know why he's took that job. I really don't. If he's looking for a redemption arc, you don't go to a team that's not got a pot to pee in. Do you know what I mean? I mean, even though they're being linked with half decent players on a free, and Southampton, another. I don't like Southampton anyway, so they're another anomaly team that they're obviously on paper. I still think they're stronger than Luton and Burnley, but I don't even consider looking down at them, to be honest. I haven't given that much thought. I'm more looking at what are Wolves doing, what are Palace doing, what are Bournemouth doing. And if we want to improve, that's the way we've got to look at it. And that is the only way we can perceive it. Where I don't want it to be just 3 teams below us again next year. Let's put it that way. And whoever them 3 teams are, I really don't give a monkeys, mate. I'm really not bothered. But it's strong every year, Joey. It's strong every year. 17 teams are the same.
I give Ipswich a half decent chance because I know they're on a massive high, getting back-to-back promotions. Of Kieran McKenna is obviously he must be a very talented coach. Been at Man United and what have you. But I think what I give them a chance is because they've been together for a while and they've got that core squad. It's just whether McKenna can kind of adapt his ways, because he's played that style of football for 2 seasons and been very, very successful with it. But Premier League is just a complete different kettle of fish, as we saw with Burnley. And then Russell Martin with Southampton. I remember watching their first game of the season against, I think it was Coventry or someone like that. And I've never been so bored.
Win last
minute.
Won
late. Yeah, won very late. And I've never been so bored in my life watching him, because he did exactly what he did at Swansea, where he's got players just passing between the ball at the back, and it's not going to get you very far in this league. We watch Burnley do it nearly every week and get punished like so often. It was unbelievable. And even we beat him at the end of the season when it was like the shackles were completely off for both sides, and we just beat him without really having to try. Do you know what I mean?
The beauty of the Premier League is them fan bases, they'll quickly get humbled, because
you don't actually realise Ipswich have been at the Premier League. I think it was the same amount of time we have, wasn't it? I think it was 23 years. Yeah. You don't realise or appreciate how good this league is.
Shall I try and get Mustard Man on the pod?
I'd love it. I'd absolutely love it. Yeah. He's I think they're all making a lot of noises, and it's like we're in our ivory tower now. Like, okay, you'll see. You'll see.
I'm glad they're spending money, though. I am glad. I'm glad.
Yeah, but there's no narrative.
Ed Sheeran's money.
Yeah, but there's none of the narrative, though, is there? It's the same old thing. It's like, Ipswich have been out for 23 years, and well done, they're spending loads of money. Forest did it. It's like, look how they're spending money willy-nilly. At least we're buying players from the top league. I mean, Ipswich have splashed out, what is it now, 50, 60 million on 4 championship players.
Well, and Amari Hutchinson, who was technically he was a championship player last year.
Well, he was their player, wasn't he? So
yeah.
Well, as long as they're below us, I'm not really that bothered.
Just to finish it all out, there was the announcement that the council and the ground and Forest are obviously trying to come to an agreement with what we want to do with the ground. Obviously, it's still not really in black and white that we can kind of do what we want, because it's still like, you need to speak to Rushcliffe Council and the City Council. It's just a big mess. But it's a good sign, I guess, in some ways, and it seems like we're filling some of the corners, so we might be able to get to a few more games rather than struggle like we did last year sometimes. And there's some safe standing that's gone in as well, so that should improve the atmosphere of the ground, rather than the Jobsworth stewards having to come up and tell everyone to sit down in certain areas of the ground. But early opinion on it all.
I think it's what everyone wanted, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it's what everyone wanted. It's what we needed to happen. The one thing I don't like about the whole thing is we're being used as like a political pawn, both sides. Obviously, without going too boring about it, like obviously the Conservatives were sort of using us as we'll do this, and we've written this letter and we've all signed it. And then Labour have come in and like, yeah, we've got it sorted. And then Forest, we've quite rightly come out and gone, no, you haven't. A fundamental part and requirement is that we can redevelop this ground, not just obtain it. We want to be able to redevelop it. And if you do want to succeed and get better, the City ground as we know it has got to change in some capacity, quite literally with its capacity, but also aesthetically. we've done what we can at present. Sort of like the accents in the ground, they've done a brilliant job. Obviously the new crest on the side of the Trent end, but you're rolling it in glitter, aren't you?
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. I'm being very mindful that you can't swear. So yeah, you're rolling it in glitter rather than polishing it. So it's that Peter Taylor stand needs to come down. And but once again, I'm reading all this, and a new ground isn't the key to success.
Mm.
It's a sign of ambition, and everyone can be ambitious. Bournemouth could pluck somewhere out the ground, out the sky, and get a 40,000 seater stadium within the next 5 years. You don't know, but it doesn't equate to success. I mean, look at MK Dons.
Yeah.
I don't think they put any seats in the upper tier yet, have they?
No idea.
And I went and watched a friendly there when that place first opened. It was fantastic, but it's all concrete around the top. So ambition doesn't equate to success. So I want us to stay. Of course, I do. It's our home. It's what's ingrained in us. It's part of why you love it. I mean, I drive out of the city every day for work. I go over Trent Bridge. There's not a day that goes by where you don't turn and just look at it. And there's like a sense. There's a sense of pride as you come into the city. That's our ground. That's where we are. We're on the banks of the Trent. Our badge is incorporated into it. It's every fibre of us is woven into the city ground and always has been. So to tear that out would rip the soul out of the club.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's vital that we stay, but it's also vital that we improve. But then it's also vital that we acknowledge that because you've got another 15,000 seats in there, doesn't mean you're going to romp up the league and get into Europa.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree. I mean, I'm really glad they say, because one, the badge would have to probably change because we're near the Trent, and this podcast will have to change its name because we won't be near the Trent anymore. So yeah, I'm glad on all that. Just to finish off in inspiration of the Forest All Over podcast. So shout out to them guys. I know them pretty good these days. Have you got a red hot early prediction for the season at all? Like something a little bit outrageous?
Forest related.
Yeah.
I reckon Gibbs White's going to get 10 goals this season.
Ooh, that's a good one, I think.
Yeah, I think he's gonna get 10 goals this season. I really do. I think he's gonna, partially because he's going to have more penalties to take than he's ever had before, because they're going to undo all the VAR debacle of last season.
And going off Harry Kane's last night, we're going to have a fair few of them next season.
No, Gibbs White for 10 goals for me.
That's a good one, I think. I think that's something that he will be wanting to improve in himself, and if he can get double, that's an England call up. Got to be. I know he might not get in the first, he might not get a start, but I think he'd be definitely within the conversation, as you will.
Yeah. No, I think if he gets double next season, then he's Adam is still not a shoo-in, mate.
Because
you've got Foden and Bellingham, and he's just ridiculous.
Palmer and
yeah,
people like that.
Unless Cooper gets bombed off from Leicester and then calls him up and plays him left wing, that's the only chance he's got, and then he'll be absolutely woeful.
I think if Morgan Gibbs White got double, I'd put us to finish like mid-table and above.
There's
because
no.
I'd
Depending
assume
on what the other lads are done. Depending on if Tyler gets you 9, he gets you double. Alanga chips him with 4, 5, or 6. Hudson-Odoi goes towards his 8 again from last season. Then you're looking 10th upwards, really. But yeah, if he steps up, if he starts shooting a little bit more, and the rest of his game stays the same, then we're in for a good season.
We're in for an exciting season with that bloody prediction. I'm all for it. But my early one, and I'm going to give you mine. I think Murillo will score from his own half this
I was
season.
just-
One's going in.
That was in the forefront of my mind. I thought, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it because I don't until what's the phrase they use? Until the transfer window slams shut. So obviously it never closes gently. Until it slams shut, and he's now got number 5 on his back, and he's playing for Forest. I can't make that prediction.
Yeah,
I just can't.
Well, while he is, that's why he's a red hot take. He's going to score.
He might have a couple of games before the transfer window. He'll probably have 3 or 4 games before the end of the transfer window.
Oh yeah, mate. I expect him to do it on Saturday against Chesterfield. I wouldn't shock me.
I've told my brother-in-law to keep an eye out for him. I've just said if my brother-in-law's a Chesterfield fan, said just watch him. And I sent him the montage that Forest did for his birthday, and he says, "I can't wait to see Murillo versus Will Grigg in the flesh."
Will Grigg's playing at Chesterfield.
It's a good song off though, isn't it? Murillo's song versus Will Grigg's on fire for the full 90 minutes.
Yeah, just that back and forth. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I think, but no, mate, I hope you're right. I really hope you're right because that kid deserves to score more than anyone. And if he scores a special goal as well to add to it, then even better.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Any other business, Reiss, that you want to talk about before we finish off?
No, nothing. I'm not going to moan about the kit.
There's already been moans about that, mate. Don't you worry.
It's coming out, everyone. Don't worry about it. It's good. We're going to be wearing it at some point.
It's going to be red.
Yeah. Spoiler. It's going to be red. I just think level-headed. Everyone just needs to be level-headed. Lower your expectations of the players and just enjoy it. It's 3rd season in the Prem. Just enjoy it. Waited so long to be here. I think that would be my message to everyone is just take it for what it is and just bloody enjoy it, and especially enjoy the first 10 games because free hit really. You don't have to start looking over your shoulder until at least January sort of time. Other than that, mate, no.
Yeah, fair enough. But also, most of all, come on, England! Come on, England!
I still won't say it.
I'm not saying it either. But yeah, come on,
say it.
Come on, the England. I mean,
yeah, come on, boys.
Let's have something. Otherwise, it's pain and sorrow, just like Forest, all over again.
Well,
but no,
Forest promoted and England winning a trophy in my lifetime is more than I could have ever dreamed of. So, fingers crossed, mate.
I know. Yeah, it'd be good. It would be good decade. Great decade.
Yeah. And then the moment that game's finished, I'm going to wake up on the Monday morning, #NFFC, look at all the tweets, and then just get excited for that, mate. It's coming up quick.
Absolutely, definitely. Reiss, thank you very much for joining us on Red Side of the Trade. I'm sure we'll see you again in the future. Everyone, if you've enjoyed it, drop us a like, subscribe for more. Until next time, come on, you Reds, and come on, England.
And come on, England.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.